My stepdaughter shut me out at her wedding and swapped me for her biological father, but can you imagine the gut-wrenching pain of realizing the person you dedicated 2 decades of your life to, the one you loved like your own daughter, saw you as nothing more than a convenient ATM and a backup plan? Because I lived it. And the shocking twist? It nearly cost me everything. My story begins over 20 years ago when I fell head over heels for Sarah. She was a single mom then, raising a vibrant, curious 5-year-old named Emma. I still remember the first time I saw them. Emma chasing a paper airplane in the park, her tiny hand clutched in Sarah's. Something in that moment just clicked. They were my future. Sarah was always open about Emma's biological father, Mark. He was, well, unreliable. A master of empty promises, fleeting appearances. He'd show up on birthdays with some cheap gift, then vanish. Emma, bless her heart, would still light up every time, even though Sarah tried to manage her expectations. When Sarah and I got serious, she made it clear. Emma was her priority. I accepted that, truly. What I didn't expect was just how deeply I'd fall in love with Emma herself. It wasn't an instant thing, but every "I love you, Dad," she uttered, every crooked drawing with my name spelled wrong, chipped away at my heart. I was there for the scraped knees when she learned to ride her bike, the terrifying middle-of-the-night fever. I helped her practice her poem for her first school recital until she knew it backward and forward. On the big day, she trembled behind the curtain, but she found my eyes in the crowd, needing reassurance that I was there. I always was. Mark. He was just a background hum. Next summer I'll take you to the beach. I'll buy you that bike. Those big promises always fell apart, and Emma's tears would fall with them. I was the one who picked up the pieces carefully always. I never wanted her to lose faith in the idea of a father, even if he was the one failing her. As she grew, our bond only deepened. I was the one at school meetings, the one helping her pick out her graduation dress, cheering from the bleachers. She called me Dad. And even though I wasn't her father by blood, I knew she meant it. That's why what happened next, it just shattered me. When Emma went to college, I supported her without a second thought. Tuition, books, even her little apartment's rent. It was a sacrifice, but I didn't care. She deserved every opportunity. Mark, of course, remained inconsistent. A call here, your dad is proud of you there, but never a cent, never an active role. When she graduated, she ran to me, tears in her eyes. Thank you, Dad, for everything. I couldn't have done it without you. Every sacrifice, every late night, every penny, it felt worth it in that moment. So when Emma announced her wedding to Andrew, I was genuinely excited. I imagined walking her down that aisle, a moment that would symbolize everything we'd been through. I never said it aloud, but I assumed that honor would be mine. After all, I'd been there for every milestone. The weeks leading up to the wedding buzzed with excitement. Emma gushed about the dress, the flowers, the music. And me? I kept supporting her, paying for part of the reception, contributing to her dress, covering extra costs. I never expected anything in return, just acknowledgement. Just to be an important part of her day. Then the invitation arrived. I opened it, a smile on my face, expecting to see my name in some special place. Instead, it was just a formal guest list. My name wasn't anywhere significant. Worse, Emma had chosen Mark to walk her down the aisle. At first, I thought it was a mistake. A typo. But when I asked her about it, her response hit me like a physical blow. There's only one biological father, and I've always wanted to give him this moment. I can't even describe the feeling. Years of love, sacrifices, effort, dismissed. Like they meant absolutely nothing. But the worst part wasn't even her choice. It was how casually she said it. As if it had never even crossed her mind to choose me. Her wedding day was one of the most humiliating days of my life. I arrived early in a suit I'd had tailored specifically for the occasion, only to sit quietly among the other guests. I watched, a phantom in the crowd, as all eyes were on Mark walking my Emma down the aisle. During the speeches I waited. Just one word. One acknowledgement. But no one did. I was invisible. Something inside me just broke that day. The part of me that had always been willing to sacrifice. It simply shut down. I didn't know it yet, but that moment marked the beginning of a change that would alter everything. Watching Emma on Mark's arm, she was radiant as any bride should be. But for me, the image was filled with bitterness. Not because I didn't want her to be happy, but because I realized in that instant that I was disposable to her. The week after the wedding, Emma and Andrew jetted off on a luxury honeymoon. Beachfront resort, breathtaking views, top-tier everything. I didn't ask much about it. I couldn't bring myself to engage in conversations about something that felt like the absolute breaking point of our relationship. What I didn't expect was what happened when she returned. She barely had time to unpack before calling me. Her tone was light, as if nothing had happened. She gushed about the beaches, the surprise dinner Andrew planned under the stars. I listened in silence, just short answers, struggling to keep my composure. Then the conversation took a turn I should have seen coming. "Dad," she said, the familiarity of that word cutting deeper than I wanted to admit. "I need a favor." Apparently there had been some unexpected expenses on the honeymoon, and they were a little short on cash. Could I help cover the cost? For a moment I was speechless. The way she asked, so casually, so assured, like she simply expected me to say yes just as I always had. I was the one who fixed things, who provided, who sacrificed without question. But this time, something in me refused. Maybe it was wounded pride. Or maybe it was just the crushing weight of years of being overlooked. All I know is, for the first time, I didn't feel obligated to say yes. "I'm sorry, Emma," I said, keeping my voice steady though my heart pounded. "I can't help you this time." Silence. I could almost picture the confusion on her face. "But you've always helped before," she finally said, disbelief in her voice. I took a deep breath. "Maybe you should ask Mark. He's your real father, isn't he? Maybe he can help." Another long silence. Then a quiet, "I understand." And she hung up. No argument. No anger. Just an abrupt ending that left an empty, cavernous space in my chest. Later, Sarah confronted me. She called me cruel. Said I couldn't just abandon Emma when she needed me. I told her it wasn't about money. It was about respect. I was there for her for over 20 years, Sarah. And when she had the chance to acknowledge that, she chose to act like it wasn't enough. I can't keep being her backup plan whenever things don't go her way. Sarah didn't understand. To her, blood always came first, even when that blood had done nothing but make empty promises. The conversation ended in silence, but something between us changed. An invisible wall formed where there had never been one before. Emma hasn't contacted me since. Right after that call, Sarah told me that Andrew was upset with me for abandoning Emma. Apparently, Mark had, unsurprisingly, vanished. No calls, no messages. I guess Emma was finally seeing the truth. But that didn't change what she had done or how she had made me feel. That night, alone in the living room, I replayed every single moment. Every time I had been there for Emma. Every time she had smiled and called me Dad. And I realized something. I had always believed that title was a choice. A recognition that I had earned my place in her life. But now, I wondered if it was just a convenient word to her. Something she said when it benefited her. I don't know if I can ever move past this. But one thing is certain. This time, I won't be the one to keep giving. Because honestly, I don't think I have anything left to give. Update. 3 months later. It's been 3 months since the wedding, and to be honest, these months have been strangely liberating. I've stood firm in my decision not to involve myself in Emma and Andrew's problems, though it's meant dealing with Sarah's constant resentment. She doesn't say it outright, but I see it in her eyes. She still hasn't forgiven me for what she sees as a betrayal. No matter how many times I explain that this isn't about money, but respect, she either doesn't understand or refuses to. But the distance between Emma and me has brought an unexpected relief. For the first time in years, I'm free from the weight of always being the one to hold everything together. I've started focusing on myself again. Picked up old hobbies like woodworking, spent more time with friends, things I had neglected for far too long. At first, I felt guilty for taking this space, but now I see it as necessary. Still, the drama hasn't stopped. A few weeks ago, Sarah told me Emma and Andrew were finally evicted. They couldn't gather enough money for rent, and their landlord ran out of patience. Now they're staying with Andrew's mother in a cramped apartment. Barely enough space for two, let alone a married couple struggling. Sarah was furious when she told me. "This wouldn't have happened if you had helped them," she said, her tone full of that now familiar blame. I didn't bother responding. It didn't matter what I said. Sarah would always see me as the villain for any hardship Emma faced. What she doesn't realize is that deep down, I know I did the right thing. Emma chose to push me aside, and now she's facing the consequences of those choices. The irony? According to Sarah, Mark has been completely absent through all of this. He didn't even respond when Emma reached out for help. Not surprising, he's been unreliable his whole life. But I find it interesting. After all the effort Emma put into placing him on a pedestal, he's nowhere to be found when she actually needs him. A few days ago, while Sarah was cooking dinner, she told me something that almost made me laugh out loud. Emma says Mark promised to help her find a new place to live, but he still hasn't followed through. He says he's waiting for his finances to stabilize. I raised an eyebrow, looking at her in disbelief. And Emma still believes him? After a lifetime of broken promises, she still believes him? I asked, not with anger but genuine curiosity. Sarah sighed, looking at me with sadness. He's her father, she said simply, as if that explained everything. That conversation lingered in my mind. For years, I had tried to fill the void Mark left in Emma's life. But now I wondered, had it all been in vain? Maybe to her, biology always mattered more than actions. Maybe I was never competing with Mark's presence, but with the simple fact that he existed. A week ago, Emma finally reached out to me. Surprisingly, it wasn't about money. She sent a message asking to meet, saying she wanted to talk. I hesitated for a long time before replying, but in the end, curiosity won. We met at a park we used to visit when she was little. Emma was already there, sitting on a bench, nervously fidgeting with her hands. When I approached, she stood up and gave me a hesitant hug. One that didn't feel genuine, but I accepted it out of politeness. For a few minutes, we sat in awkward silence. Then she started talking. But not about why she had called me there. Instead, she spoke about how difficult it was living with Andrew's mother. The tension in her marriage. How much she missed having her own space. I listened without interrupting. I could tell she had a lot to unload. Then, finally, she got to the point. Dad, she said. A word that used to mean so much to me but now felt hollow. I know I've disappointed you. I know the wedding hurt you, and I don't think I realized how much until it was too late. I waited, letting her continue. Inside, I felt a mix of emotions. Disbelief, sadness, and a lingering resentment. Emma took a deep breath before adding, I just want to say I'm sorry for how things turned out. I never meant to make you feel replaced. But you did, I replied, calmly but firmly. And not just at the wedding, Emma. Every time you ignored everything I did for you. Every time you chose to see Mark as something he never was. You say you didn't want me to feel replaced, but honestly, I don't think I was ever in that place to begin with. Emma looked down, visibly shaken by my words. Maybe she had expected me to simply accept her apology and return to how things used to be. But that wasn't possible anymore. Some things once broken can't be repaired. The conversation ended shortly after. As we said goodbye, she told me she hoped we could rebuild our relationship with time. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't want it to happen, but because I wasn't sure it was possible. Emma didn't just break my heart, she shattered something deeper, my trust in her. Update: I did something neither Sarah nor Emma will ever forgive me for. And honestly, I don't know if I should even ask for forgiveness. Over the past year, since the wedding, my relationship with Sarah has crumbled beyond what I ever thought possible. What started as emotional distance has turned into an unbridgeable gap. The love, the bond, even the respect we once shared. It feels gone. We still share a house but not a life. Since the wedding, there's been no intimacy. At first, I thought it was temporary, a result of stress. But as months passed, I realized Sarah wasn't just upset. She was resentful. She blamed me for Emma's suffering, and that resentment seeped into every part of our marriage. The nights we once spent talking or watching movies are now filled with silence. Every time I tried to reach out, she pulled away, building a wall between us. And in the middle of that emptiness, someone else entered my life. Sophie. Sarah's best friend. She had always been around, kind of the fun aunt to Emma, bringing extravagant gifts, telling funny stories. But after the wedding, something changed. She started calling more, checking in on me. At first, I thought she was trying to help fix things between Sarah and me. But over time, I realized it was more than that. Sophie was the only person who truly listened. She told me what no one else had. That I was right, that my feelings were valid, that I had been treated unfairly. That Sarah was being unfair to me. Our conversations became something I looked forward to. She didn't see me as the villain in this story. I won't say this was planned because it wasn't. Just happened. Like a river finding a new path. One night, after another long talk, we sat in silence, just looking at each other. We had talked about everything, how I felt invisible in my own home, how Sarah had grown cold, how my life felt like it was falling apart. Then, out of nowhere, Sophie took my hand and said something that left me speechless. You deserve to be happy. And they aren't letting you. I don't know what made me lean in. Her voice. The way she looked at me. But the next thing I knew, I was kissing her. And she didn't pull away. That night, I didn't go home. I spent the hours with Sophie, talking, laughing, letting months of repressed emotions finally surface. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen. I felt wanted. More importantly, I felt understood. I know what I'm doing is wrong. But I don't regret it. Sophie has been my escape. Someone who truly sees me. I found with her what I lost with Sarah. Connection. Sarah suspects something. She watches me when I come home late or step out to answer messages. But she hasn't confronted me. Sophie struggles with guilt too, yet neither of us regret what we've done. I know this can't last. When Sarah finds out, there's no turning back. But for now, I don't feel so alone. Final update. 2 years later, 2 years have passed. Looking back, it feels like a distant storm, yet its scars remain. I've rebuilt my life, though I don't know if I can ever undo the damage. Sarah and Emma cut me out completely. And in a way they freed me. When I finally confessed, Sarah's reaction was even more intense than I had imagined. She confronted me before I could even speak. "What is this? I've seen the way you've changed. Tell me the truth." I blurted out, "Sophie and we've been seeing each other. She was there for me when no one else was." Sarah's face twisted from shock to pure fury. Then came the words that still haunt me. "So all of it? Everything we built, meant nothing to you?" I stood there speechless. Everything I had done was to keep my family together, but I had failed. "Sarah," I said, my voice shaking, "while you were trying to save Emma, I lost myself. And you didn't even see it." She screamed. So loud it hurt. "What you've done is unforgivable. How could you destroy our family?" Emma walked in. She already knew. Her voice was ice. "I thought you were better than this. But you never cared, did you? You just wanted to be the hero, and look what you've done." "That's not true," I said, trembling. "You pushed me away. You chose Mark. And when you needed something, I was just supposed to fix it. But when I gave you everything, it was never enough, was it?" "Enough?" Sarah yelled. "That doesn't justify this betrayal. Just get out. Go." And just like that, they told me to leave. To never contact them again. It hurt. But at the same time, I felt relief. There was nothing left to save. I moved into a small apartment. The divorce process was exhausting, but the real pain wasn't the legal battle. It was knowing the life I built was gone. Through it all, Sophie was there. My comfort, my motivation. She didn't excuse my mistakes, but she didn't judge me either. Months later, as I was finally piecing my life back together, I got a message from Emma. "Dad," it read. "I know I hurt you. I know I failed you. But you will always be my father. I'm sorry. I know things will never be the same, but I will always love you." I didn't reply right away. The wounds were still too deep. Maybe one day I'll find peace. But for now, I'm moving forward no matter what I've left behind. What about you? Have you ever had to draw a line in the sand even if it meant losing everything? What would you have done in my place? I really want to hear your thoughts in the comments below.